Now, as I've said, in pretty much all these installments, choosing 3 or 4 directors. All right, hello there. Welcome to the channel. My name is James, and here at 20th and 21st Movies, we are about all things cinema. All right, it's early Saturday morning. It is early in spring. I mean, we are just, what, 2 days into spring now, and I just dropped off my son at a basketball workout, and I have a few minutes here parked in front of a Chick-fil-A. Very tempted to go in there and get me a chicken biscuit, but I'm going to hold off. I'm going to exercise a little bit of restraint, and I'm going to instead spend this time sharing with you the latest installment in our Director's Spotlight series. This is a series that has been going on this channel for going on 4+ years. It's our Taste Director series, our Director Spotlight series, where in each of these installments, we'll choose a specific director. We'll talk a little bit about that director's background, share 3 or 4 films from his filmography to just give you a taste of what that director has done and what they've contributed to the world of cinema. Now, as I've said in pretty much all these installments, choosing 3 or 4 films from a director, it's not necessarily going to give you the full depth and breadth of what they've done, especially if they've done this for multiple decades. But the idea is to simply give you a taste of the types of films that filmmaker has done, the general contribution that she or he has made to this passion that we all love, and that is the passion of films and exploring films and discovering films, the passion of filmmaking, the art of movies. So in this installment, in this Director Spotlight series, I am going to cover a director that I am still discovering myself. That is director Terrence Malick. He has done some incredibly visually astounding films throughout his career. His career is very interesting because he's had some gaps along the way, and he's a bit of an enigmatic figure in the world of cinema. So I'm still discovering him myself. I've seen a few of his films. I'll talk about a few of those today. And I want to hear in the comments section what you think about Terrence Malick films and what some of your favorites are. So on the other side of this, we'll get into it. We'll talk about Terrence Malick films. Let's do this on a Saturday morning. Let's go. All right, we're talking about taste of Terrence Malick films, and the spotlight is on a director whose poetic and philosophical style has fascinated audiences for decades, Terrence Malick. So we're going to take a brief look at his background, his unique approach to filmmaking, and explore 3 of his most defining films. We're going to talk about Badlands today. We'll talk about Days of Heaven. These are all Criterion Collection titles, and we'll talk about The Tree of Life. And we may talk about another title as well in the collection. Perhaps we'll talk a little bit about the Thin Red Line. But yeah, these are all amazing titles. All of these titles are highly recommended. Interestingly enough, I have not reviewed any of these titles in this channel, but that may change at some point. But these are all highly recommended. I've seen all of them, and I cannot recommend them enough. They are incredible, incredible films. And of course, I'll throw in a little known fact about each of these films. So let's get into it. So let me pull up something that I have here. This is the visionary cinema of Terrence Malick, exploring his background, filmmaking style, and key films. I'm really looking forward to hearing in the comments what some of your favorites are from Terrence Malick. As I always like to hear when I talk about these directors, is this a director that you've heard of? Is this a director you're familiar with? If so, what films are you most interested in? And in some cases, this may be a director that you've never seen any of his films. And that's part of the reason why I do this series, to expose others to these great directors. So, who is Terrence Malick? Well, he was born in November 1943 in Ottawa, Illinois, raised in Texas and Oklahoma. He studied philosophy. He studied philosophy at Harvard University, Harvard, and he attended Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. He left before completing his PhD. He taught philosophy and translated Heidegger's The Essence of Reasons before pursuing filmmaking, and he attended the American Film Institute, the AFI, and worked as a screenwriter before making his directorial debut. So Malick was drawn to storytelling and he pursued filmmaking at AFI, and he worked under legendary director George Stevens. And his debut feature, Badlands, immediately set him apart as a visionary filmmaker. Of course, Malick's signature filmmaking style. What is Malick's style? What sets him apart from other directors? Well, his style is very lyrical, very philosophical narratives. So, you know, themes of nature, existence, and, human spirituality. His films cover a lot in the area of natural lighting and cinematography. So the cinematography of his films are astoundingly beautiful, like Days of Heaven, Badlands, that really captures that natural light and capturing the essence of natural places. Breathtaking, painstaking, painterly visuals, not painstaking, painterly visuals. His films involve minimal dialogue and are very poetic and involve poetic voiceovers. So, he really lets the images do the talking in a lot of his films. Just inner monologues create a dreamlike atmosphere in his films. Loose story structures. So he focuses on mood, visuals, and themes over conventional storytelling. So it's really a matter of here is a painting on film, you can see it, and it's about it evoking emotional responses, and how does what you're seeing as it's being laid out on the screen, how does it make you feel? What impressions does it have on you? What feelings are washing over you is part of what he's presenting in the presentation of the scene and the way he's presenting the story visually. So his use of nature is fantastic, just using the natural world as a character in his films. And then editing and post-production evolution. His films are often reshaped in editing, with actors' roles sometimes reduced or removed, in which a lot of directors do this, but Terrence Malick is definitely known in his films for doing just that. You see on the left at the top, you see Badlands theatrical poster, as well as a theatrical poster for Days of Heaven below that. So, with that, we'll talk a little bit about this title here, which is Badlands, which is in the Criterion Collection. You see here Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek. It says here, Burning Love on the Great Plains in 1959. This is an amazing film by Terrence Malick. I have not seen this film in a number of years. I really want to revisit this, but it's fantastic. Badlands announced the arrival of a major talent, Terrence Malick. His impressionistic take on the notorious Charles Starkweather killing spree of the late 1950s uses a serial killer narrative as a springboard for an oblique teenage romance, lovingly and idiosyncratically enacted by Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek. I love seeing actors in roles when they were young. We see Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek today, but this is back in 1973, so 52 years ago. We get to see them at the very beginning of their career. This is Sissy Spacek before Carrie. This is, Martin Sheen in one of his earlier roles, and they are absolutely brilliant. This story is based upon a true story, the Starkweather killings. It is inspired by Charles Starkweather and Carol Ann Fugate's 1958 crime spree. So this stars Martin Sheen as Kit and Sissy Spacek as Holly, a young couple on the run. It establishes Malick's fascination with violence, nature, and American mythology, mixes brutal subject matter with dreamlike narration and poetic imagery, and it influenced later filmmakers like Quentin Tarantino. So yeah, Badlands is a fantastic title in the Criterion Collection. It is Spine 651. This title is based on a restored 4K digital transfer. This is a title that I would love to see get a 4K release from Criterion. But what I would say is, I would not necessarily advise waiting on a 4K for this title because though Criterion is upgrading a number of their Blu-rays, especially ones that already have an existing 4K restoration, you just never know when that upgrade is going to occur. It could occur this year, it could occur next year, it might never happen. So rather than waiting on a great film, my advice is just experience the film. Maybe you might see it on the channel. That may be a good way to check it out, but definitely experience this film. It is incredible. It is fantastic seeing Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek in this film. Now, a little known fact about Badlands is Martin Sheen once said that Malick was so shy on set that he often avoided giving direct instructions to actors. Instead, he would whisper suggestions to the cinematographer or assistant director, letting the performers find their own way into the scene. So, just a little bit of a little known fact, but you see there the article at the top there, top left, Doom Killer finds power he saw in use of guns. That's the real Charles Starkweather and Carol Ann Fugate there during their 1958 crime spree. So definitely something to check out. A little piece of history that this film Badlands is based upon. So always like to see films that are based in real history, and Badlands is loosely based off of that real story. It's sort of like a Bonnie and Clyde type story, but inspired by true events of Charles Starkweather. All right, the next title we're going to talk about is a visual masterpiece from 1978. So 5 years after Badlands, Terrence Malick gave us Days of Heaven. Now this does have a 4K release. This is an upgrade to 4K. I had the Blu-ray of this title, and I have upgraded it to this 4K edition, Days of Heaven. Absolutely phenomenal film. Now, I will confess that when I first saw this film, when I first saw my Blu-ray copy of this film years ago, it didn't really grab me, to be honest with you. It really, I saw it and maybe it was a function of my mood at the time, but it didn't really do much for me. But then I watched it again, and I can't say I completely fell in love with it, but I liked it a lot more. And it's one of those things where the more I revisit this film, the more I'm going to appreciate it, is how I feel about Days of Heaven. But one of a kind filmmaker philosopher Terrence Malick has created some of the most visually arresting films of the last century. And his glorious period tragedy, Days of Heaven, featuring Oscar winning cinematography by Nestor Almendros, stands out among them. In the mid 1910s, a Chicago steelworker, Richard Gere, accidentally kills his supervisor and flees with his girlfriend, Brooke Adams. Brooke Adams starred in the that Invasion of the Body Snatchers film that I believe came out this same year in 1978, I think, that starred her and Donald Sutherland and Jeff Goldblum and Leonard Nimoy. Great, great remake of the Body Snatcher story. But anyway, in this film, Brooke Adams is starring in Days of Heaven, and she's the girlfriend of Richard Gere's character, and his little sister, Linda Mans, to the Texas Panhandle, where they find work harvesting wheat in the fields of the stoic farmer, Sam Shepard. Really good film, visual masterpiece, absolutely stunningly beautiful. There are some scenes that will just blow your mind. This is a really nice story, very interesting, bit of a love triangle. It's Spine 409 in the Criterion Collection. It's available on 4K Ultra HD, and it is highly, highly recommended. It is an absolutely visually stunning film, a beautiful film that I simply cannot recommend enough. That is Days of Heaven from 1978, one of Terrence Malick's most beautiful, beautiful films. Of course, it's set in the early 20th century. It follows a love triangle between a farm laborer, his lover, and a dying landowner. It's known for stunning cinematography by Nestor Almendros, who won the Academy Award. It was shot almost entirely at magic hour, the soft golden light before sunsets, or golden hour, or actually, I think golden hour is sun is dusk, maybe sunrise, or I don't know. Is early in the day when the sun is just coming up, and I guess magic hour is like that light when right before sunset. He uses minimal dialogue and relies heavily on Linda Manz's poetic narration, and it's one of the most visually breathtaking films ever made. So that is Terrence Malick's Days of Heaven, highly recommended in the Criterion Collection. Beautiful film, another masterpiece from Terrence Malick. Now, it's my understanding that Terrence Malick took probably about a 20-year break before making his next film after Days of Heaven, or it may have been sometime after Days of Heaven, but there was a big gap in between films for Terrence Malick. But this is one of his most visually stunning films, Days of Heaven. All right, the next title we'll talk about is also in the Criterion Collection. It's another visual masterpiece. It's probably Terrence Malick's magnum opus. It's called The Tree of Life. It is from 2011. And it is this beautiful film here in this wonderful digipack here. See here, the Tree of Life. Amazing, amazing film. It's an incredible journey of exploration. It's 139 minutes. It's from 2011. It's in color, of course. Spine 942. It comes in this beautiful digipack from Criterion. It is a Blu-ray. This was based off of a 4K digital restoration for this Blu-ray. This is a title that I think might possibly get a 4K upgrade at some point, but who knows? We don't know when that will be. So that's why, again, could it get an upgrade? It does have a 4K restoration. You would think that would happen at some point. They've already upgraded Days of Heaven. You would think that they would probably upgrade Tree of Life. It's just a question of when. Could it happen this year? Could it happen next year? Perhaps. Or it may not happen at all. We just don't know. And it's that uncertainty that, if it's a film you want to see, I just generally would recommend just go ahead and get it. Either that, or as I said before, go and see if it's available on the channel or if you can stream it somewhere just to experience the movie. You don't want to wait to experience a great film on, a format release. So anyway, Tree of Life. 4 decades into an already legendary career, Terrence Malick realized his most rapturous vision to date, tracing a story of childhood, wonder, and grief to the outer limits of time and space. Reaching back to the dawn of creation, Malick sets a story of boyhood memories on a universal scale, charting the coming of age of an awestruck child newcomer, Hunter McCracken, in Texas in the 1950s, as he learns to navigate the extremes of nature and grace represented by his bitter, often tyrannical father, Brad Pitt, and his ethereal, nurturing mother, Jessica Chastain, in her breakout role. Achieved with the aid of cinematographer Emmanuel Lubezki and production designer Jack Fisk, the Palme d'Or winning The Tree of Life marks the intimately personal, cosmically ambitious culmination of Malick's singular approach to filmmaking. The Tree of Life, Spine 942. Beautiful Blu-ray, beautiful digipack in the Criterion Collection. And what can I say? It's absolutely stunningly beautiful. And I just highly recommend it. It's a deeply personal film. It blends family drama with cosmic imagery. It stars Brad Pitt, Jessica Chastain, and Sean Penn in a meditation on memory, faith, and the universe. Features some of the most breathtaking visuals in cinema history, including a 20-minute sequence depicting the origins of life. It won the Palme d'Or at Cannes and received 3 Oscar nominations. It's considered one of the most ambitious and polarizing films of the 21st century. So it's an incredible visual masterpiece. It is probably Malick's magnum opus. And a little known fact is the film's famous cosmic sequences weren't CGI heavy Hollywood creations. Malick enlisted visual effects legend Douglas Trumbull, known for 2001 A Space Odyssey, the Stanley Kubrick film, who used practical techniques, so practical effects, including chemical reactions and microscopic photography to create the stunning nebula nebulae, and galactic imagery. So practical effects were used, not CGI heavy, and you definitely got to appreciate that as part of Terrence Malick's vision for this incredible, incredible film. The Tree of Life, highly, highly recommended. So this is a little bit of a quote here from Terrence Malick. Nostalgia is a powerful feeling. It can drown out anything. So Malick's legacy. He is, of course, is one of the most influential and enigmatic directors in cinema. His films are often divisive, but universally admired by, for their artistry. And he has influenced countless filmmakers, from Christopher Nolan to Denis Villeneuve, who are both two of the most visionary filmmakers of today. They were inspired in part by Terrence Malick. So that's good to know. He continues to push the boundaries of storytelling and visual poetry. And whether you love or struggle with his films, Terrence Malick, his work demands to be experienced. So definitely, I would definitely leave you with that if you are not familiar with Terrence Malick's films, his films are definitely worth exploring. They're definitely worth experiencing, largely because of the visual nature and the visual storytelling that's taking place and just how beautiful these films are. So definitely let me know in the comments section below what you think about Terrence Malick's films and what some of your favorites are from his filmography. Of course, he also has this film here, The Thin Red Line, in the Criterion Collection. This is a fantastic edition. This was based off of a restored high definition digital transfer. But this is one of the best releases in the entire collection in terms of picture quality, sound, audio, and special features. This is a beautifully stacked edition in Criterion that I highly recommend it. This is from 1998. It's The Thin Red Line. Just a fantastic film and just an amazing title. And that gap that I mentioned is when he made Badlands and Days of Heaven in the 1970s, I believe he disappeared for like 20 years. So he did Badlands in 1973, Days of Heaven in 1978, and then he just sort of fell off the grid of filmmaking until he came back in 1998, nearly 20 years later, and gave us The Thin Red Line. So this is a fantastic film as well that I highly recommend from Terrence Malick, but just an amazing filmmaker. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about Terrence Malick films? Have you seen many of his films? If so, what are some of your favorites? And also let me know what titles you are currently enjoying in the Criterion Collection. We recently had a flash sale. This is the month of March 2025 when I'm recording this. So we just had a flash sale. Let me know what titles you picked up in that flash sale. And of course, let me know what you're enjoying in the world of physical media, Criterion or otherwise. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time at the movies. If you enjoy this type of content, definitely consider clicking subscribe to this channel, as well as the bell to get notifications of new content when it arrives. Thanks for watching as always, and we'll look to see you next time at the movies. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace. Peace.